Hello everybody, I'm Sardis Nunez. I am modern language student, and in this video I'm going to do a brief summary about Absalom by William Faulkner. It is a novel written in a Southern Gothic and historical style. It is the first novel written by William Faulkner in 1936. William Faulkner is a well-known American poet and novelist who, in writing these and other novels, made significant contributions to literature, which led him to later to win the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1949. Knowing that Faulkner is a Southerner makes us to understand why the South inspired him to use it as the setting for his first novel. The story of the novel is told from the point of view of four different speakers who tell the story about Supen's arrival to Jefferson, Mississippi, and the demise of the Supen dynasty. Thomas Suffen is a willing, imposing man who comes to Jefferson, Mississippi, in the company of a group of slaves and a French architect to build a mansion that he called the Suppen's Hundred. Um, Thomas bought a few miles of land where he builds the mansion and start a cotton plantation. And a short time later, Susan decides to marry Ellen, the daughter of Mr. Cofield, a merchant, a local merchant, with whom he has two children, Henry and Judith. Henry goes to college in Mississippi where he meets Charles Bond, his friend whom he takes home for Christmas, and who becomes engaged with his sister Judith. But the problem begins when Super realizes that Bond is his son, um, a son that he had with a mixed race woman. Supens tells the story or tells the Henry, but he refused to believe him and leaves the mansion, giving up his birthrights. Henry goes with Bond to New Orleans, and when the Civil War breaks out, they both enlist to fight in the battle during 4 years. Supens that is fighting in the war too, he finds Henry and tells him that Bond is not only his brother, that that he also is a half black blue. Henry tries to avoid the marriage between Bond and Judith, but after Bond's refusal, Henry becomes angry and rebels himself against Bond. Bond arrives at the Super Hundred to marry Judith, but Henry murders him at the entrance of the house. After this, Supens returns to the mansion and finds the plantation in ruins. He tries to recover it, but the damage are many and it is impossible to repair it. Rosa, and that is Ellen's younger sister, and who Supen was briefly engaged to marry, but after an insult from Supen, Rosa goes to her father's house. Supen becomes an alcoholic man who has a relationship with a 15 years old girl named Millie, who later give birth a child. When Millie gives birth to the baby, Serpent insults her, while Watch John, her grandfather, is listening to him. Watch Jones gets angry and argues with Serpent, and then kills him with a rusty scythe. Uh, Later, Suppen's body is found, and Watch John feels confronted by the townspeople. Then he kills his daughter and her baby. Years later, Quentin that is a young man that is preparing to attend Harvard, and Miss Rosa sends to look for Quentin to tell him the story mentioned before. Over next few weeks, Quentin thinks about the same story, which he also hears from his father, Mr. Compson, and later he tells to Chevre, uh, his roommate at Harvard, who sometimes interrupts him to give his own point of view about the story. The story ends with Quentin talking to Trevor about how Rosa returned to the mansion to try to save the life of Henry, who is now an old man that is waiting for death. But Cleety, that is a black woman and Suppen's daughter, she started a fire in which she and Henry died, bringing the Suppen dynasty to the end. Um, it is important to pay attention to the details in the story to avoid confusions due to the change between the narrators. It can sometimes be a bit confusing. Overall, I think it is a good and interesting book to read. Um, well, thank you for paying attention. I see you in the next video. Bye bye.